Let me welcome you to this lecture. We have been discussing the chemistry of metal olefin complexes, and we have so far looked at the synthesis as well as bonding in metal olefin complexes, and we discussed the bonding only in mono olefin complexes. And during this lecture, we will discuss the bonding picture in conjugated olefin complexes, as well as we will briefly discuss about the reactivity of metal olefin complexes. So let us begin with the bonding model for conjugated olefins, as the bonding model in case of the conjugated olefins are different from mono olefins as well as oligo olefins, where the olefins are not, where the double bonds are not conjugated. Because in case of conjugated olefins, say for example, like butadiene, we have more number of pi molecular orbitals are available, and therefore the possibility of combination uh, with pi molecular orbitals of the olefin uh, with the metal orbitals are more, and therefore that is also the reason why such metal olefin complexes containing conjugated olefins are more stable. So let us see the kind of orbitals, or let us find out the kind of orbitals that are available in a conjugated olefin for binding or for forming complexes with metals. So we will take 1,3-butadiene as the example, and we will identify the orbitals in 1,3-butadiene that can interact with metal orbitals during formation of a pi complex. So there are going to be 4 pi molecular orbitals for 1,3-butadiene, and these orbitals are let's draw all of these 4 molecular orbitals. So the first one is a bonding molecular orbital, where all the p orbitals on the 4 carbon atom are in the same phase and there is no node. The second pi molecular orbital contains 1 node, and this is the second molecular orbital. We can label this as psi1, and let's label this molecular orbital as psi2. There is 1 node present between these 2 carbon atoms, as these p orbitals on these 2 carbon atoms you see are out of phase or are in different phase. So the third molecular orbital contains 2 nodes, that is between the 2 terminal CC bonds there are 2 nodes are present in the third molecular orbital. Let's label this as psi3, and the fourth molecular orbital is completely antibonding in nature, as there are 3 nodes in this molecular orbital and all the p orbitals are in different phases from each other. So this is going to be labeled as psi4. Now during formation of metal to ligand metal olefin complexes, these two molecular orbitals which are filled are going to donate electrons to the metal, while these 2 molecular orbitals which are empty are going to accept electron pairs, electrons from electron density from the metals. Because as you can see, in case of butadiene, there are 2 double bonds, and these 2 molecular orbitals which are of lowest energy. This is the lowest energy molecular orbital, and the energy of the psi2 is higher than psi1, while psi3 will be higher than psi2, and psi4 is highest molecular orbital, highest energy molecular orbital, as this is completely antibonding molecular orbitals. So these 2 molecular orbitals are filled, while these 2 molecular orbitals of butadiene are empty. So now let us identify the metal orbitals which can interact with uh, the different molecular orbitals of molecular orbitals of butadiene. So we can easily figure out that the s orbital in metal can effectively overlap with this psi 1 molecular orbital, as well as pz molecular orbital, atomic orbital of nickel can also bind with psi 1, and along with that, the dz square molecular orbital of metal can also overlap with the psi 1. So essentially these interaction leads to formation of sigma bond here, and these are all sigma type of interactions. Now, let us identify the atomic orbitals of metal which can interact with psi 2 depending upon the symmetry of these molecular orbitals. So here we can see that px atomic orbital of metal, if this is the x-axis, and we have already considered that this to be the z-axis, and x-axis lies on the x as well as z lies on the plane of the board, and y-axis is perpendicular to the plane of the board. So in that case, this is the px orbital, and the px orbital can interact with this psi 2, as well as we have the xz that is x and z. This is the xz atomic orbital of metal, and this can as well interact with psi 2 in this case. So now let us go and find out, or let us figure out the atomic orbitals of nickel which can interact with psi 3. So that is, we can easily figure out that py atomic orbital, that is, this is x axis, this is z, and py atomic orbital of the metal will be perpendicular to the plane of the board, and this molecular orbital is of atomic orbital is of right symmetry to interact with psi 3. So this is py. So let's write it on this direction. Py as well as pyz orbital can also, dyz orbital of the metal can also interact with this the psi 3 molecular orbital of 1 butadiene. Now for psi 4, the xy orbital can interact with psi 4. The xy orbital is of right symmetry to interact with psi 4. As we see, the symmetry of the lobes, because the xy orbital, the xy plane is perpendicular to the plane of the board, and in that case, the lobes of the xy orbitals have the right symmetry to interact with psi 4. So these interaction, as we have already seen, the first one over here, psi 1, is a sigma type interaction, while these two, that is with psi 2 and psi 3, both of these are pi interactions, and psi 4 is a delta kind of interaction. So psi 4 interaction of metal orbitals with psi 4 is going to be delta kind. And now if you look carefully here again, there is electrons are going to be donated from psi 1 to metal, because psi 1 is a field molecular orbital, and this is a sigma interaction. Psi 2 to metal, this is a pi interaction. So in this case, the olefin, apart from being a sigma donor, it is also a pi donor because the electron density is transferred from the olefin to the metal in a pi interaction, and essentially this is a olefin acts as a pi donor kind of ligand. Also, Psi3 accepts electron from metal center because Psi3 is empty and this is a pi interaction, and we see the olefin also acts as a pi acceptor ligand. Apart from being a sigma pi donor, it also acts as a pi acceptor ligand, and again Psi4 also accepts electron density from metal, and this is a delta kind of interaction. So there are four different interactions, different interaction in case of conjugated olefins like 1,4-butadiene, and for conjugated olefins with higher number of double bonds, the number of molecular orbitals are going to be more, and the kind of interactions are also going to be accordingly increased, and this will also bring more stability to the metal olefin complex. Now, since, or if you look at the nodal behavior of these two molecular orbitals, that is Psi2 and Psi3, what we see here is that during formation of metal olefin conjugated olefin complex, the electron density on Psi2 is going to decrease, as well as the electron density on Psi3 is going to increase, because Psi2 donates electron density to the metal while Psi3 accepts electron density from metal. So this essentially means the electron density on Psi2 is going to decrease and electron density on Psi3 is going to increase. Now if you look at that, there is a in case of Psi2, there is a between these two carbon atoms, the p orbitals are in phase, while between the internal carbon atoms, the p orbitals are out of phase, and there is a node in between. While in case of Psi3, the internal between the two carbon atoms, internal carbon atoms are in phase, while the p orbitals on the terminal carbon atoms are out of phase. So as we increase electron density in Psi3 and decrease electron density in Psi2, essentially this will have only one effect on the olefin molecule, that is the internal CC bond distance, because this acquires more double bond character. As we see, as we increase electron density on Psi3, the internal CC bond will, the bond order of the internal CC bond is going to increase, and that is why internal CC bond distance will decrease, and it acquires more double bond character, while the terminal CC bond distance, as we see, as we decrease the electron density on Psi2 and increase electron density on Psi3, the E-terminal carbon atom, the bond order between the carbon atoms in the for the terminal carbon atoms is going to decrease, and that is why the terminal CC bond distance is going to increase. So this sort of changing the electron density, or the change in electron density that we observe when we form a metal olefin complex can be correlated with an electronic excitation of the olefin, because if you look at the say Psi1, Psi2, Psi3, Psi4, this is the olefin, free olefin, and for the free olefin, this bond distance is 136 picometer, while this bond distance, the internal CC bond distance is 145 picometer. The terminal CC bond distance is 136 picometer. Now these two molecular orbitals, Psi1 and Psi2, are filled, and if you are going to excite an electron, in case of butadiene, and when we make the electronic configuration, that is, we excited electron from Psi2 to Psi3, then the electronic configuration becomes this. So the butadiene molecule is now excited, and what we see is that this leads to a change in bond distance, that is the terminal CC bond is lengthened and it becomes equal to 145 picometer, while the uh, internal CC bond distance decreases because it acquires more double bond character, and this becomes 139 picometer. So this is this sort of electronic excitation where we excite an electron from Psi2 to Psi3 has a similar effect of increasing the terminal CC bond distance and decreasing the internal CC bond distance that we observe in case of metal olefin conjugated olefin complexes. So we'll see what kind of bond distances are observed in case of conjugated metal olefin complexes as compared to what we see in case of free olefin molecule. So if you take this zirconium complex, butadiene complex, the CC bond distance, this is 145 picometer, while the internal CC bond distance is 140 picometer. So what we see is that in case of the free butadiene, we have already observed that the internal CC bond distance is 145 picometer, which decreases to 140 picometer upon complexation of butadiene with zirconium, while the terminal CC bond distance was equal to 136 picometer in case of the free olefin, which increases to 145 picometer. This is happening because of increasing population of Psi3 molecular orbital and decreasing population of the Psi2 molecular orbital in butadiene molecule that we have seen also can be triggered by electronic excitation of butadiene. So during complexation, what we can say is that during complexation of the butadiene molecule with the metals, the terminal carbon atoms, lose the sp2 character and acquire some more the hybridization of the terminal carbon atom essentially is somewhere between sp2 and sp3 because they lose the double bond character to some extent, while the internal carbon atom, the carbon atom, the hybridization is sp2. So this allows us to write two canonical forms for butadiene metal complexes, as we have done in case of also the metal olefin complexes. We have seen that two different bonding models were possible. In one case, metallcyclopropene-like model was proposed, while in another case, we have seen in case of the Dewar-Chatt-Van model, we see that the olefin essentially forms donor-acceptor kinds of bond with interactions with the metal. So the same can be also observed in case of the butadiene complexes. Here the terminal carbon atoms are sp3 completely, while the internal carbon atoms, there is a double bond between the internal carbon atom which was absent in case of the free olefin. So again, what we can write, the other canonical form is where there is double bonds are in the terminal carbon atoms and the olefin essentially binds to metal in this sort of donor-acceptor interactions as proposed by the Dewar-Chatt-Van model. So these two types of canonical forms can be drawn. In this case, the terminal carbon atoms are sp3 hybridized, while in this case, all the carbon atoms are sp2 hybridized. Now, we have already seen how the bond distances change upon complexation of the olefin to metals, and which supports, of course, this this sort of canonical form where the terminal carbon atoms are sp3 hybridized. So apart from bond distances, the 13C carbon NMR or NMR spectroscopy also allows one to find out that the coupling constants is essentially in of the NMR spectroscopy also allows us to see that the carbon atoms acquire, or the hybridization of the carbon atoms in these conjugated olefin complexes is somewhere between sp2 and sp3 hybridization, that is for the terminal carbon atoms only. So because we can look at the coupling constants between the carbon and the protons in these compounds, and the coupling constant for an sp3 hybridized carbon atom is different from the coupling constant that you will get, that is 1J coupling constant of 13C and 1H nuclei here. That is going to be different for a sp2 hybridized carbon atom and for a sp3 hybridized carbon atom. So by comparing the coupling constant, one can find out the extent to which the hybridization is between sp2 and sp3 hybridization. So what has been observed is that the late transition metals, that is electron rich transition metals, prefer to be in this canonical form where there is donor acceptor tungsten interaction, while early transition metals or olefin complexes of early transition metals can be essentially described by this canonical model where the terminal carbon atoms have sp3 character. So we have now seen the bonding models for monoolefin as well as for conjugated olefin complexes, and we will now discuss about the reactivity of metal olefin complexes. As such, the thermodynamic stability of metal olefin complexes are governed by the nature of these olefin ligands that are present, and there are four key observations that have been made so far by looking at the reactivity of metal olefin complexes. This is the first observation is that the electron withdrawing substituents on the olefin increase stability, while electron donating substituents decrease stability of metal olefin complexes. So if the olefin contains electron withdrawing substituents, then the complex is going to be more stable. That the complex that the olefin is going to form with different metals is going to be more stable as compared to when you have electron donating substituents are present on the olefin. So the second rule says that if cis trans isomerism is possible, so if the olefin can form cis trans isomer, because more stable complexes are formed by the cis isomer. So the cis olefins form more stable complexes as compared to the trans olefins, because as we have seen in case of butadiene, we have taken the cis-butadiene, and if you take trans-butadiene, it is geometrically in an unfavorable conformation to bind with metals, and that is why these cis isomers essentially form more stable complexes than what the trans olefins can form. So the third important observation is that complexes containing ring strain olefins. So we know that ring strain olefins are less stable, but the complexes, metal olefin complexes of such ring strain olefins are essentially stable, like cyclopropene or trans cyclooctane, norbornene are stable. As such, these olefins are less stable thermodynamically, but their complexes are surprisingly quite stable in nature. And the fourth observation that has been made is that so if you have oligoolefins which are non-conjugated oligoolefins, essentially they are going to bind with metals as like monoolefins only. But if the double bonds that are present in such oligoolefins are present in a geometrically favorable position to bind with one metal center and thus form a chelate, so then such complexes formed by non-conjugated oligoolefins are going to be more stable. And the reason for this, of course, formation of this chelate by the olefins, and this is also that we call as the chelate effect that allows one to make stable metal olefin complexes even from non-conjugated olefins. So we can see examples of such non-conjugated olefins which can form stable metal olefin complexes. We have already seen examples of such metal olefin complexes during discussion on of preparation of metal olefin complexes. That is, if you take cyclooctadiene, nickel cyclooctadiene complexes, so this sort of metal COD to this cyclooctadiene complexes, where you can see that the two olefins are not conjugated in this case, but still the corresponding nickel complex is quite stable, which can be easily isolated, and it is also used as a precursor for nickel zero. We have discussed this earlier. And the reason why it is stable, even such non-conjugated olefins also can form stable metal complexes, is because the two double bonds are now in a favorable position so that it can chelate one metal center, and this is chelate effect essentially brings stability to such metal centers. So these are some very important observations of on reactivity of metal olefin complexes. Now, monoolefin complexes, or if we discuss about monoolefin complexes, then the one type of reaction, that is ligand substitution reaction, is most prominent for such monoolefin complexes, and we can see examples of such ligand substitution reaction, or that is substitution of the olefin ligand during the reaction. One advantage of such ligand substitution reaction in metal olefin complexes is that these reaction can be carried out under very mild condition, that is at very low temperature when the reaction proceeds, and that is the reason why these monoolefin complexes have been used as precursor for preparing metal complexes which are thermally unstable. So we'll see one example of such reaction where you can take a nickel olefin complex, ethylene complex, and when you react this with oxygen, you can substitute the ethylene ligand by dioxygen ligand to form a nickel dioxygen complex. Now this particular complex is quite unstable, and it decomposes above -5 degrees Celsius. Now we cannot certainly do the reaction, perform the reaction at above -5 degrees Celsius, or otherwise the product is going to decompose. Now because the reaction proceeds only under very because it proceeds under mild condition, and that is why the product can be isolated easily during this reaction. So that is one of the advantage or synergistic utility of metal olefin complexes, that one can do reactions, substitution reaction under mild condition, and that allows one to isolate products which are otherwise difficult to isolate under high temperature. So another important reaction of these metal monoolefin complexes that we need to discuss is the nucleophilic reactions with nucleophilic reagents, and this reaction as well has a lot of synthetic utility. We can see examples. Say if you take this palladium complex, that is dinuclear palladium complex, H4 Cl2, and do reaction with sodium acetate. So sodium acetate is a nucleophile, and now what you are going to get is a nucleophilic addition on the olefin is going to take place, and this sort of, that is the vinyl acetate is the product is formed. So vinyl acetate is prepared by following this route because it allows one to make nucleophilic addition on this olefin, and that will essentially result in vinyl acetate, and this reaction again has a synthetic utility, that is why. Similarly, if you do reaction with ethanol, this will give you that is a vinyl ether can be prepared by this route. So both vinyl acetate and vinyl ether can be prepared starting from a metal olefin complex or nucleophilic reaction of this metal olefin complex with a nucleophilic reagent. So we will now discuss about the reactivity of metal conjugated olefin complexes, and as such we know that these conjugated olefins like 1,4-butadiene can undergo catalytic hydrogenation, as well as they undergo also diacetyl reaction. But when coated to a metal olefin complex or conjugated olefin complex, the reactivity of the olefin actually decreases upon complexation with metals, and they do not undergo catalytic hydrogenation, neither do they undergo diacetyl reaction, and they are less reactive than what you see in case of the free olefin. So reactivity essentially decreases upon complexation. Now, one reaction that they undergo is electrophilic addition reaction on such a, and electrophilic, say for example, the protons can come and attack on the olefin. If the metal does not undergo oxidation under that condition, then the proton will come and attack on the olefin, one of the olefin carbon atom, and we'll see examples of such reactions. So if you take, say, iron butadiene complex, that is, and if you do reaction with a strong acid, that is HBr4, which will provide us H plus ion. Now the electrophile, that is H plus ion, will come and attack on one of the olefin carbon atom, that is one of the terminal carbon atom of the olefin, and this will essentially transform the ligand into an allyl ligand now, because this will become CH3 and FeCO3 positive. Now, if you count the electrons on this complex over here, the product here, but you will find that 8 electrons from iron, 6 electrons from carbon monoxide, and 3 electrons from the allyl ligand, -1 for this positive charge. So that will give us 8 plus 6, 14, plus 3, 17, -1 equal to 16 valence electron. So this species is unstable, and that is why one needs another 2 electron donor to get a stable product. And when you add carbon monoxide, or when you do perform the reaction in presence of carbon monoxide, one carbon monoxide, additional carbon monoxide ligand will get attached to the metal, and that is why this is going to become FeCO4, not FeCO3. And now we can see that it is a 18 valence electron complex. So such addition of carbon monoxide has taken place to compensate the coordination unsaturation that has generated because the diolefin ligand has essentially become an allyl ligand, which is a 3 electron donor, unlike a 4 electron donor in case of the diolefin. And also there is a positive charge because the proton has is added to the one of the terminal carbon atom, and that is why the molecule becomes 16 valence electron species. And in order to compensate for that, or in order to produce a stable 18 valence electron species, another 2 electron donor is required. Now this coordination unsaturation can also be compensated by another approach. It is the one of the CH bonds can come and breach the metal center now, and this CHM interaction will essentially compensate the coordination unsaturation or electron deficiency on the metal, and the system can then acquire 18 valence electron count. So let us see one example where this is obvious. So if you take group 9 metal complexes of butadiene, and then add H plus, that is metal here are cobalt, rhodium and iridium. Now if you add acid, strong acid to this metal complex, again it will come and electrophilic attack on one of the terminal carbon atom is going to take place, and this will become the olefin ligand will essentially become an allyl ligand now, and this is going to be CH3, and this is going to be positive. One positive charge is going to be there. Now if you count the electrons on the over here in the precursor complex, 9 electrons from cobalt, 5 electrons from the Cp ligand, and 4 electrons from the butadiene ligand over here, substituted butadiene. That is, so 18 valence electron it is. So, and if you count the electrons on the product over here, then what you will find that 9 electrons from the metals and 5 electrons from the Cp ligand, 3 electrons from the allyl ligand over here, and -1 for the positive charge that we have to do. So that is going to be equal to 16 valence electron. So now, in order to compensate for the electron deficiency, what can happen is that this molecule can exist in a different form. So one of the CH bonds can now bridge the metal center in this way, or there is going to be interaction between the hydrogen atom that is attached to the terminal carbon atom over here to with the metal center, and the metal can this way compensate for the unsaturation that is present in the metal. So this is one of the form, and there is another form is also possible. That is, all these forms are in equilibrium at high temperature. That is, the hydrogen can completely move towards the metal, and then the diene is once again regenerated, and this is what we will have in that case. And now we can see that this is an 18 valence electron species we have, because 9 electrons from the metal, 5 electrons from the Cp ligand over here, and 4 electrons from the diene, and 1 electron from the hydrogen over here, hydride that is, and -1 from here is going to be equal to 14, 18, it is 18 valence electron species. So that is how it can be. All these three forms are in equilibrium, and for at low temperature, what is observed that cobalt and rhodium complexes, essentially this particular form is more prevalent, while at low temperature for iridium, the third form over here, that is the hydride form, is more prevalent at low temperature. But this sort of interaction, that is where the CH bond essentially bridges a metal center, this is a 2 electron 3 center bond that we see over here. This is something similar to what we see in case of boron hydride, where we observe these 2 center 3 electron, 3 center 2 electron bonds in boron. So this is a similar kind of interaction that is observed in metal complexes, and this interaction essentially is known as agostic interaction. We have discussed about agostic interaction earlier, and what it does is that it is because of this interaction, essentially this allows us to see that how the hydrogen atom attached to a saturated carbon atom can be activated, because now the hydrogen atom is more activated than what you see in case of free alkanes, say, because it is now coordinated to the metal center. So this essentially brings us to the end of this lecture. During this lecture, what we have learned are the bonding models that is proposed for conjugated olefins. What we have seen is that number of orbitals or pi molecular orbitals available for bonding with metal orbitals in case of conjugated olefin is
more, and their energies are different, as well as their symmetries are also different, and this allows several types of interaction to be present in such conjugated metal olefin complexes, and that is the reason why such conjugated metal olefin complexes are more stable than metal monoolefin complexes, or complexes of metals with olefins which are non-conjugated. Now we have also seen that upon complexation of the conjugated olefins, or say butadiene with metals, the terminal carbon atoms or acquire sp3 hybridization, or the hybridization is somewhere between sp2 and sp3, while and the terminal CC bonds get lengthened as the bond order between the two carbon atoms on the terminal carbon atoms essentially decreases, and at the same time the bond order between the internal carbon atoms increases, and the bond distance for them between the internal carbon atom decreases. So this is observed in case of metal complexes, butadiene complexes formed by different metals, and it is also established by looking at the uh, coupling NMR coupling constants, because the coupling constant for sp2 hybridized carbon and the coupling constant that we see for sp3 hybridized carbon atoms are different, and that allows us to distinguish or monitor the change in hybridization that happens or that is triggered by complexation of such olefins with metals. We have also seen the reactivity, or we discussed about the reactivity of olefin complexes in brief. So we have seen different kinds of observation that has been made, that is the on the thermodynamic stability of metal olefin complexes, that is that the stability essentially depends on the nature of olefins, and when electron withdrawing substituents are present on the olefin, the metal complexes, corresponding complexes are stable, while if electron donating substituents are present on the olefin, then the corresponding complexes are going to be unstable. Similarly, we have seen that the olefins where the cis-trans isomerism is possible, the cis complex olefin essentially forms more stable complex than trans olefin, while ring-strained olefins can also form stable metal olefin complexes, and we have seen examples of such ring-strained olefins, say for example cyclopropene, as well as trans cyclooctene and norbornene. These are ring-strained olefins, but they still do form stable metal olefin complexes, and we have also seen that olefins, non-conjugated olefins, when present in a favorable geometric positions to form chelates with metal, can form stable metal olefin complexes, and we have seen that how this cyclooctadiene can form metal olefin complexes, stable metal olefin complexes, instead of the olefin being non-conjugated in nature. And then we discussed about ligand substitution reaction in metal olefin complexes. We learned that this ligand substitution reaction is an important synthetic tool for preparation of thermally unstable metal complexes, and we have seen one example where a nickel dioxygen complex, which is quite unstable at even low temperature, can be prepared by substitution of ethylene by or dioxygen ligand. And we have also seen how nucleophilic reagents can react with such metal olefin complexes, and this has been used as a synthetic tool for preparation of vinyl acetate as well as vinyl ethers. And then we moved on to discuss the reactivity of metal diolefin complexes, and we have seen that diolefin complexes undergo nucleophilic addition reactions, and that is that they undergo nucleophilic addition reaction when with say acids, strong acids, and during this nucleophilic addition reaction, the acids go and bind to one of the terminal carbon atom. Now there is coordination unsaturation on the metal center, because the ligand is no more diene, but it gets transformed into allyl ligand, and in order to compensate for these coordination unsaturation, another 2 electron donor ligand can come and attack on the metal center, or otherwise a CH bond can breach the metal center and thereby compensate the electron deficiency. One more reaction that we forgot to mention during the discussion on metal diolefin complexes is that the diolefin complexes can also undergo nucleophilic addition reaction. That is, if you take a diolefin ligand, say, now nucleophiles, like if I take alkyl lithium, can react with the olefin, that is, it is going to go and attack one of the internal carbon atom, and it is going to go and attack on one of the internal carbon atom at low temperature. That is, if you do a reaction at minus 78 degrees Celsius, then what is going to happen is we are an allyl ligand is so this is R. So the R comes and attacks on the unsubstituted internal carbon atom over here and forms this sort of a olefin complex at minus 78 degrees Celsius. But if you do the reaction at higher temperature, that is at 25 degrees Celsius, this particular product is kinetically controlled product, and the more stable thermodynamically controlled product that is formed when the allyl ligand is, this ligand is essentially transformed to an allyl ligand, and the R, the incoming alkyl group comes and attack on the one of the carbon terminal carbon atom to give this allyl ligand is formed at 25 degrees Celsius at higher temperature. Thermodynamically controlled product is formed. So both of these two complexes are negatively charged because we are adding R negative to these complexes here. So that is how nucleophilic addition on cyclobutadiene metal carbonyl complexes can occur, and this essentially leads to nucleophilic addition on one of the internal carbon atom that is unsubstituted in this case. So as this is how one can get the kinetically controlled product, while this is how one can, by performing the reaction at higher temperature, one can get the thermodynamically controlled product in this case. So let me conclude this lecture with this, and I thank you very much for being with me during this lecture.